Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into what it actually takes to reach the absolute peak of the tech industry. I mean, how exactly do you go from having almost nothing to running one of the most powerful companies on the planet? Well, we're going to reverse engineer the massive success story of Sundar Pichai to uncover the exact DNA of top-tier leadership. So if you're an aspiring tech professional looking to scale your career, you're absolutely going to want to take notes. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this. Back in 1984, a 12-year-old boy named Sundar Pichai was literally sleeping on the dusty floor of a shared two-bedroom apartment in India. Fast forward to today, and he's the CEO of Alphabet, Google's parent company, sitting on a staggering net worth of $1.3 billion. A gap that wide between the starting line and the finish line? That's never an accident. It is the direct result of specific, repeatable behaviors.
So to make this incredibly practical, we're going to treat this like a tactical case study. Here's our agenda. 1. The ultimate tech trajectory. 2. Habit 1. Embrace discomfort. 3. Habit 2. Take bold risks. 4. Habit 3. Practice relentless persistence. And finally, 5. The payoff of perseverance.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the ultimate tech trajectory.
To even get to the starting line in Silicon Valley, Sundar's journey required immense initial sacrifice, $1,000. That number right there represents the massive stakes of his early career. After earning his engineering degree in India and landing a life-changing scholarship to Stanford University, getting to America was a whole other hurdle. $1,000 was his father's entire life savings. That was literally more than his annual salary. When a loan fell through, his father took a massive gamble and drained the family savings just to buy that plane ticket. So in 1993, carrying the heavy weight of that risk, Sundar landed in America.
Moving on to Section 2. Habit 1. Embrace discomfort. Now what's really interesting about his early days is the extreme culture shock. $60. Imagine arriving in a brand new country and realizing that a simple, decent school backpack costs the equivalent of a month of your father's income. That's what Sundar faced. Even a simple phone call back home cost $2 a minute. He was forced to adapt and fast, eventually tracking down a much cheaper backpack on an online bulletin board. He refused to take his opportunity for granted. He learned right out of the gate that to survive and advance, you've got to get incredibly comfortable with being uncomfortable.
And this habit translated directly into his professional life. After graduating from Stanford and doing a stint at Applied Materials, Sundar landed the biggest interview of his life at Google in 2004. But here's the kicker. The interview happened to fall on April Fool's Day, which was the exact same day Google launched Gmail. When they asked him about Gmail, Sundar just honestly admitted he thought it was a prank. But instead of hurting his chances, Google's senior VP saw this honest ignorance as intellectual humility. He was willing to be vulnerable, and it actually landed him the job as Vice President of Product Management. When he first joined Google as a product manager, he felt like a small fish in a massive pond, totally surrounded by industry veterans. But instead of letting that intimidate him, he leaned into it, saying, "Am I doing enough? These people seem much better than me, and I think that's an inherent part of learning." He firmly believes that if you feel completely secure in what you're doing, well, you're just too comfortable. True growth requires deliberately working with people who make you feel a little insecure.
Which brings us to Section 3. Habit 2. Take bold risks.
And this brilliantly illustrates how embracing discomfort gives you the courage to challenge the status quo. Sundar saw a massive gap in Google's strategy. They absolutely needed their own web browser. But when he pitched the idea back in 2006, CEO Eric Schmidt outright rejected it, calling it way too costly. Most people would just fold right there, but not Sundar. He went back to the drawing board, crunched the numbers, built an undeniable business case, and pitched it again. He finally got the green light, and in 2008, Google Chrome launched right into a fierce browser war against Internet Explorer and Firefox.
His defiance paid off massively. By May 2012, Chrome didn't just compete, it totally dominated. It became the most popular web browser in the world, eventually capturing over 65% of the market share. Sundar's willingness to put his own reputation on the line wasn't just a personal win, it yielded a monumental return on investment for Google as a whole.
Sundar consistently urges professionals to seek excitement over safety, noting, "You will have many, many opportunities to reinvent yourself, and so I think it's worthwhile taking risks and trying to do something you're really excited by." That exact philosophy drove his subsequent innovations within the company. Taking a risk on Chrome opened the door for him to spearhead Chrome OS and the wildly successful line of affordable laptops we all know as Chromebooks. Bold risk absolutely compounds into massive opportunity. Moving right along to Section 4, Habit 3, Practice relentless persistence.
Now, taking a risk is a single action, but turning that risk into a global reality requires relentless persistence. And to have that, you need a deep sense of purpose. Think about this. In 1982, Sundar's family got their very first rotary phone. Before that, just checking his mother's blood test results meant a grueling 4-hour bus ride to the hospital. The phone replaced a half-day journey with a simple 10-minute call. He realized early on that technology elevates human life. That deep-rooted mission became his driving force. Years later, when put in charge of overseeing Android globally in 2014, he relentlessly pushed for Android One. That initiative distributed an astonishing 1 billion devices worldwide in a single year, all to bring tech to the masses.
So the crucial point here is that his persistence wasn't just about pushing products. It was about staying fiercely loyal to a long-term vision. Because of his massive success, other tech giants obviously came knocking. He was incessantly courted by Twitter for high-ranking roles, and in 2014, it was widely publicized that he might even become the new CEO of Microsoft. But despite these incredibly lucrative poaching attempts, he chose loyalty. He stayed committed to Google's vision to finish what he started.
And that brings us to our final part. Section 5, the payoff of perseverance.
When you execute these 3 habits over decades, the payoff is just legendary. Think back to 1993. He landed in California with nothing but a suitcase and his father's heavy financial debt. Fast forward to today, and he is the chief executive officer of Alphabet. He's got a net worth of $1.3 billion and lives in a $40 million mansion. His father's massive initial gamble didn't just pay off, it literally yielded one of the highest returns in modern business history.
It all comes back to a surprisingly simple philosophy. If the first attempt you don't do it, you can try again. Things tend to work out in the long run. Coming from a guy who was initially rejected by his own CEO when pitching Google Chrome, that carries incredible weight. For every aspiring tech leader watching this, remember, failure is just a temporary stepping stone to reinvention. You just have to try again.
So we've reverse-engineered the habits of a real tech titan today. He chose discomfort over safety. He chose risk over the status quo, and he chose persistence over an easy exit. So I want to leave you with a provocative question to ask yourself right now regarding your own career. Are you comfortable or are you growing? Because as we've learned today, you simply cannot be both. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I hope you take these lessons and start building your own empire today.